Hey everybody, welcome to the Games Tavern Happy Hour. Tonight I'm going to be, or I'm Mac, and I'm joined with Richard here, and we're going to be
Howdy.
shaking up the standard format a little bit, trying to get away from just how-to videos and talk about some more fun, interesting things. So tonight, in that vein, we have some news that we've been paying attention to, and we thought we'd go ahead and get out with you guys. As we're going along, as always, please chime in on the chat if there's anything out there, any of the stories are particularly exciting to you, or you want to know more about, you have any questions, or you just want to talk about your own news that we've missed. Hit us up, and we'll try and include you in the conversation there. So the first piece of news is my personal favorite piece, but that's just because I really like old school kind of stuff. The Goodman Games has released some new stuff this week. One of the big things that I've been looking for is they recently did a series of books on, they're calling them original adventures reincarnated, but they're basically old school Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons manuals and modules and stuff that they actually re-update to 5th edition. So it's a really cool concept. We've did some old school stuff on the stream with the Tomb of Horrors, which we're going to talk about later. But for this is a sort of a labor of love that I'm really excited about. As you can see behind me, I have books 2, 3, and book 1 here. Oh, there we go. And they just released book 4. Book 4 is covering the Lost City modules. But we'll get into that in a second. With Rich here, he's going to be part of a campaign that we're going to be running off camera just for fun. But we've talked about a little bit of this and sort of the era when you grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, right, Richard? Even if you didn't play any of the modules here.
Yeah, I think I may have played part of one of them. I can't remember which one because it really was during the Reagan administration. So it's been a while, but I'm really looking forward to doing it because kind of a lot of the feel of the old modules, but with the kind of don't have to look through 5 different pages to figure out if you've rolled to hit somebody, and the much
Yeah.
sleeker 5e game mechanics. A whole lot of things I didn't like about the old system have really improved a lot in 5e.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting stories there, but just the mechanics of, like, I have the rules for the white box on my computer somewhere, and I have AD&D there. Yeah, this is a much better rule set, but the old stuff is still fun every now and then.
Yeah, but just for like I like spellcasters and the
Yeah.
spell slots. Yay, spell slots! Oh, you got to roll all your own spells. Hey, you got a 4th level spell. Guess what? They aren't nearly as good as the 3rd level spells you'd rather have more of. Too bad.
Yeah, yeah. So the piece here actually does a really good job of. This is Into the Borderlands, it's the first one. It's actually we're going to be kicking off with the campaign, but it does a really good job of showing off the differences between the modules when they first came out and how the team at Goodman Games has ported them over up to 5th edition. If any of you, if you're not familiar with Goodman Games, go learn about them because they're fantastic. They do some great stuff. But they're the guys behind the Dungeon Crawl Classics and the Mutant Crawl Classics games, and a couple other. But they've done a lot of. That's their big calling card there. But then they also have a whole bunch of stuff that's come out for 5th edition. And the DCC, I've also had Richard on for a couple games of those. Those are a lot of fun. They again invoke the sort of the spirit of 1st edition and 0 edition D&D, but they're slightly more polished with what we've learned over the past 50 years or so, right?
Yeah, a bit.
But these have inside they have 2 printings. Oh, here we go. I'll just do it like this. They have 2 printings of each module. For this case, the 2 modules are In the Search of the Unknown and The Keep on the Borderlands. So there's I think the 1st or 2nd printing of each, and then the 6th or 7th printing of each. So they changed slightly as the editions moved along. And then they have a full 5e conversion with a whole bunch of extra content in there. The Lost City, the book that came out recently, it's out there on shelves somewhere if the supply logistics actually come up. But it's only one big module. But they've also added in a whole bunch of extra content in there again. This one's a whole campaign for 1 through 7, levels 1 through 7 if you really want to run it that way. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff that they're pushing out in there. My favorite thing about this, though, is it's not just a rule book. It has a whole bunch of other content in there. The Into the Borderlands one has a whole bunch of essays and letters from some just huge names in the gaming industry. such as we got Luke Gygax, it's Gary Gygax's son, Mike Merles, Harry Stroh, Alex Kammer, Jim Wampler, just to name a few. There's a whole bunch of people in these books that have really come together to tell you how important these modules were, how they meant to them, and during the formative years of D&D. So it's some really cool stuff that I'm really excited to be digging into. I've been calling my local game store every 3 days or so, asking them if they got their shipment in. They're no longer answering my phone calls. So if anybody out there is as excited about these as I am, let us know in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next story and stop talking your ears off about things that I don't even care about. So the next thing is a little bit of bad news, unfortunately. Everyone out there knows there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and it's just not a great time to be going to places with a whole bunch of packed people. So in that vein, unfortunately, PAX West hasn't been canceled, is the term that they're not using. They're not using the term canceled, but instead they're saying it's turned into PAX Online. So you still get to have a whole bunch of interesting experiences, see all the stuff that they're coming out with. PAX is still very focused on the video game stuff and the electronic gaming, but there is some of the tabletop stuff that's going on with that. But it's now going to be purely on an online thing, going 24/7. They're going to have panels and shows and stuff. I'm very interested to see how this is going to move forward, because Rich and I were just talking about this right before the cameras got going, and there's been a lot of cancellations for conventions this year. But I honestly don't know if there's been any that are quite on the scale of like PAX and Gen Con. Both are going to be going off at about the same time. So far we haven't had anything on that scale. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Richard.
I haven't seen it. I'm going to interested to see how they do that and how that evolves. Because one of the things about going to things like these conventions is the hallway track, where you just start talking to somebody you blunder into with a common interest. It'd be interesting to see if the online platforms figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I think Discord might be a way to do for them to pull that off. Okay, maybe they're going to be putting some of the panels on Twitch. I don't know. I'm very interested to see how it's going to be moving. One of the good news about this, though, is that it is going to be free, so everybody can log on online to check this out. Have you ever been to a Penny Arcade Expo there, Richard?
No, I haven't.
Well, last year and for the past couple years, actually, past 3 years, I think, I've been going to PAX Unplugged, and I know a couple people in the chat have also been going to PAX Unplugged, and we somehow never see each other. But that was a really fun time, and that's one that I'm kind of hoping is going to be good. They haven't mentioned anything about that yet. But that one, just going around and running into people that you've never expected to see or talking about great games that you love, that's a huge part of the convention scene. And I don't know how they're going to translate that to online, but if anybody can do it, I think it's going to be the Penny Arcade guys.
Yeah, they've got a much better feel for that kind of thing. A lot of people like corporate sponsor or event promoter 1A aren't going to do it very well. These guys might. Yeah,
they're really good at that kind of thing. A week ago or 2 weeks ago, sometime in the past, very recent, the Nova Open also got canceled, and it's just that's unfortunately what's going on right now. I know a lot of them are also trying to get things going. Like the Nova Open does have the charitable foundation that they have. So if you bought tickets, you can donate the money, and as opposed to getting a refund, you can tell them to just put it into the charity fund, and they'll go off and do that with it. Take whatever they need just to keep the lights on effectively, but get it going. So there are a lot of adaptations happening right now with the convention seasons, and it'll be very, very interesting to me to see how that's going to be going forward. I think that's all the bad news we have. Just checking the chat. No one's come up with... Okay, cool. Yeah, we have no other bad news. So into the good news. Back into there. There was, if anybody was watching the internet this weekend, there was the D&D Live 2020 event, Roll with Advantage. So there was some bunch of really, really cool stuff coming out on that one. There was a gaming announcement, which we're going to cover in a little bit. That's sort of our hallmark for the night that we're going to try and talk about in a bit. But beyond that, there was a bunch of live plays. You might have seen the ads online. If you managed to get on to Twitch and actually watch it when it was live, there was some really good stuff up there. There was the two biggest games, the ones that I was personally most interested in. There was a game with a whole bunch of different comedians, which none of them I actually know who they are, but I'm not too well plugged into pop culture. I don't know. Did you notice or know who any of those were from the ads there, Rich? Or
No, I not really. I'm not any better plugged in than you are.
yeah, I recognized some of them. It's like, oh, that person did a thing. Cool. But the game I was much more interested in was the Game of Thrones cast. There was 5 or 6 of them that got up and were playing Dungeons and Dragons. They weren't playing as their characters from the show, but they were playing the game as themselves, and it's always really cool to watch actors and seasoned professionals for the industry actually get in there and do that kind of stuff. Sorry, you didn't say that you got a chance to watch any of that, did you?
No, I had household chores I was doing most of the weekend.
Real life.
Unfortunately.
But so that's I'm trying to figure out if it's actually available on their Twitch to do on video on demand or something, because I definitely want to sit down maybe tomorrow night or tomorrow morning or something and watch the entire thing. Maybe I'll do it this weekend. Oh, they are. So yeah, that's thank you, Mr. Smithwick. I now have my weekend plans. Watch party. Okay, cool. We have a Discord for that. So yeah, maybe we'll work at getting that going. If anybody out in the chat saw these. Sound off what your favorites were, and we can try and actually get that up and maybe do a watch party with cast and crew this weekend. That could be fun. While we're waiting for anybody out there to come up with, before we go too far, the D&D Live Roll with Advantage event was actually a really cool thing. Besides just seeing all of these people do this. It was actually a charity event. It was with the Red Nose Day charities, which work to fight childhood poverty and help get kids food and clothing that they need and sort of get them out of bad situations like that, help them however they can. It's a big worldwide event. You always see a whole bunch of comedians and stuff coming in and doing it nationally or internationally. I believe it's normally in late May, but it's sort of a year-round thing that people support. So if you check that, I believe there's a lot of donate stuff all over the place. So consider looking at that. It's a good program. And with that, we're going to go ahead and move over to the next piece of news. Has anybody out there played Starfinder? In the chat, let us know. Richard, did you ever play Starfinder?
No, it's on the list of things I was interested in doing because I knew at least one kind of indie science fiction author I read is kind of looked at doing a setting for his, and kind of he goofed with it and decided he's more rules light kind of guy. So he said, nah, not my thing, too rules heavy. And I like reading rule books. So I thought, rules heavy. Oh yeah, that sounds interesting.
Well, excellent. Yeah, I've run some Starfinder in the past, right when it was getting dropped. Right when it came out, I ran it basically from Go. It was hard to do because there was a complete lack of support effectively, because they released what it was amounted to the Dungeon Master's Guide, basically the big 3 books, and that's it. And then they did a slow trickle of releases every month for, here's some tokens, here's some models, here's some this, here's some that. And unfortunately, it didn't really work out too well just because it's such a unique universe. It's such a bespoke. You can't really use like Star Wars minis or Warhammer minis or whatever there, because it's very clearly not that. It's Pathfinder in space. It's D&D in space, and there's no generic models out there for that. But if that's the thing you're interested in running, I happen to have Starfinder right there.
Oh,
cool. So that's it. It's fun. I'm interested to see how it's going now that it's got 3 or 4 years under its belt. So there's some pretty cool stuff that they're going to be doing. Because now they've actually announced 2 big things. There's a new class coming out, which they're calling it the Nanocyte, which is basically a technomancer, wizard, technologist kind of guy, but they control nano machines, nano robots, and they go out and can manipulate the world or do that kind of interesting, very creative kind of stuff that you can push out there. And they also announced that they're going to be pushing out piloted mechs. So if you're one of those BattleTech guys, yeah, you can get your whole party to suit up into a mech and have a party there. Or you were Mech Warrior, I think was what you were talking about at one point, or?
No, I never really got into that. I've known guys who were. I knew some really big Mech Warrior fans, but those were interesting.
Yeah, so they're pushing all this out for playtest rules, not unlike what Paizo did with the Pathfinder playtest. Gosh, what was that? 2 years ago almost. 2018. And the Starfinder Society, awesome. Yeah, so there's a bunch of great stuff coming out with Starfinder right now. Josh in the chat has mentioned that Pathfinder does have the organized Starfinder Society, which is like their Pathfinder Society or the Adventurers League for Dungeons and Dragons, where you can go to the store and play, or you can get the scenarios and play them with your friends. So it's cool. I'm very excited to see that there's actually a lot of support coming out for this game. And I'm definitely very interested in diving back into it because there's some really cool stuff going on there. Josh, let us know if you've ever actually played Starfinder, because that's a cool one, and I unfortunately don't know a whole lot of people who have. It's sort of one of the dark horse games going on right now, and there's some really cool stuff going on. But if you do play out there, everybody, the play tester rules are a great way for you to sort of get a sneak peek about what they're thinking. Do not have enough bandwidth to play that and other. Yeah, that is very fair. We only have so many hours in the day. But yeah, if anybody out there is interested in Starfinder, I have far too much money invested in it to not run it again. So, so let me know. You can find me on our Discord, which let's see if I can drop a chat there. Yep, you can find me on our Discord here. And let me know if you guys are interested in playing, because
are there decent online tools for character generation?
I don't know.
Because the one gripe, but again, I was listening to this guy talking about how to try to do a session with him, and like, yeah, we spent like so long flipping back and forth building the character, and it kind of turned him off. So if that's one of those things gets a lot. If the pain's removed by a really cool website, that becomes lowers the barrier to entry.
Yeah, I'm really hoping there is, because it's not a particularly easy game to learn how to play and build characters with. It feels like Pathfinder, but there's enough stuff that just absolutely doesn't work that same way. Like classes and races are kind of a thing, but then there's a third thing that goes in there, which is, oh gosh, what is it? It's kind of like background in 5th edition, but it completely alters what it is that you're actually able to unlock. And then your classes have set subclasses. So it is definitely a very complex system to, at least when I first started. I think some of it did get patched out. Yes, there are pre-gens available if you want to go ahead and just jump right into the action. But if you want to actually try and build up a character, I don't know if there are web resources for that. I'd assume there are, because it's a cool game. I certainly hope there is. But yeah, it's a fun one, but I'm looking forward to seeing where they're going with the playtesting now. It actually has enough support. So moving from things that I've spent far too much money on to things I'm going to continue to spend far too much money on, Forge World is back up. If you are a tabletop gamer with particularly the Warhammer universes, you'll know that they've shut down for the past 3 months or so for pretty much everything, as most of the world has, unfortunately. The hobby scene has been a little dry for getting new stuff coming out, but that's just how it is right now. Fortunately, everything is slowly starting to come back on, and Forge World, the premier, super expensive, super high quality sort of modeling for professional grown-up kind of things for still in the Warhammer universe, is back available. So if you've been waiting to spend several $100s on a new tank, they got you. I know I have a couple orders pending because I have too much time, or not enough time actually, but I have too much to chase down on that. Some really cool stuff on that website, though. I know a lot of guys are happy to have them back. But we're at the main story of the week. I mentioned in the Roll with Advantage event that there was some news that they pushed out. Do you want to go ahead and announce this one, Richard? Because you're sitting there quietly and I'm speaking far too much.
Sure. So, so they announced they got the next major D&D 5e adventure setting campaign, whatever you want to call it, place to spend too much of your money on, but is going to be Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. And of course, we couldn't help but also note that the cover art looks like the world's meanest polar style owlbear, and as a member of Team Owlbear, we have to approve of that. Something like an owlbear with horns that's really the Frost Maiden.
Here, I'll see if I can get the Frost Maiden. It is the Frost Maiden. Let's see if I can actually get a picture of the cover art up. Here we go. So that is the Icewind Dale cover art, and it is a doozy. I really, really enjoy it. And it is it depicts a couple things. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. The big terrifying monster thing is the Frost Maiden, as Richard points out. It is not a monster, it's a deity of some scale. So there's something really cool going on there. I know very little about the Icewind Dale setting other than it's north of the Spine of the World Mountains. So I'm very excited.
I don't know what the current Icewind Dale is, because there was a humble bundle with a whole bunch of D&D books about 3 months ago, and I got so I just read the Crystal Shard, which is one of the first books R.A. Salvatore wrote set in Icewind Dale. So that's probably I have to go look it up, like a couple hundred years before the current Forgotten Realms 5e setting that this is going to be taking place in.
Yeah, that sounds right. I know that about 200 years, I think. Storm King's Thunder does touch in there a little bit. That's I'm excited to see how that's going to mix in with the current rules that and sort of stuff they've established in 5th edition. But there's some really, really cool stuff that they're going to be pushing forward on this. They've mentioned that it's as opposed to it being a standard, hack and slash, sword and sorcery kind of adventure, this one's going to be focused largely on horror. So there's going to be a horror aspect. I'm not sure what it is, but we do have the blurb here to read out to you. We got beneath the unwielding night sky, you stand before a towering glacier and recite an ancient rhyme, causing a crack to form in the giant wall or the great wall of ice. Beyond this yawning fissure, the caves of hunger await, and past this icy dungeon is a secret so old and terrifying that few dare speak of it. The mad wizards of the arcane brotherhood long to possess that which the gods of winter's wrath have so coldly preserved, as do you. What fantastic secrets and treasures are entombed in the sunless heart of the glacier, and what will the discovery mean for the denizens of Icewind Dale? Can you save 10 towns from the Frost Maiden's everlasting night? So there's some really cool stuff coming out there. They're talking about it as a dark terror that's, in the forlorn, flickering candlelights of civilization known as the 10 Towns. So besides just that, the whole setting, which is going to be really cool, and all of the interesting areas that they're going to be exploring, it is really, really cool. But it's a whole campaign. We were talking about this beforehand. You were asking me what the levels were, right?
Yeah, because I didn't see it at the top of the webpage like you did.
Yeah, it looks like it's actually going to be starting from level 1 to 12. So you can do everything in there, do a whole kind of campaign to get your characters, pushing them through the frozen tundras of Icewind Dale. But then you can also have opportunities to take the encounters and other adventures that they're going to be going on and actually move them through to bring them into your own campaigns. So there's some really cool stuff there, a whole bunch of potential. And one of the things I'm honestly most excited about, and this is kind of superficial, but it's the alternate box art or alternate cover art, which I've just posted up there. It is really nice. Again, it shows you the Frost Maiden there doing whatever it is that she's going to be doing. And it honestly has me regretting buying the standard box art or book art for everything else, because I had that idea. I was like, oh, I can go and buy these, or I'm not going to get all of the fancy ones, but I did. Are you out there collecting these also, or all the fancy books there, Richard?
I haven't been lately, but I'm going to probably start buying more of them. Or I'm getting kind of interested in having the combo bundles where you buy the physical Dead Tree book and get a digital format that I can schlep around, since I sometimes move back and forth.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Like I
like things Goodman Games does. Back to our earlier comment.
Yeah,
they're really good on the PDF plus a real book.
Yeah, unfortunately, the OARs, the original adventures reincarnated, aren't going to be doing that. There's some licensing issues with getting the PDFs out, but I believe that they're eventually going to be pushing those out through Wizards of the Coast. They were saying that, at least. I haven't seen it happen yet, though. But hopefully it will be happening. This is up for pre-order right now, though, on pretty much every website that sells these things, that sells Wizards of the Coast stuff.
Although you were mentioning about some of the other modules for about your local game store, I would just like to put in the plug that if you have the chance to pre-order it through your local game store, they probably could use the business so long about now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's one of the big things. I'm a huge proponent of buying from the local game stores, just because I owe them rent for the amount of time I just stand there staring at things. And here we go. We actually missed this one. Josh is saying that the Adventures League will probably have a parallel set of modules released over the next year that complement the Icewind Dale hardcover. Awesome. I'm very excited to see that. Those are probably going to actually be played in stores with the Adventurers League, right? That's, I believe, how that's going to work. I've never actually done Adventurers League, so sorry.
Me neither.
But did you can be played anywhere? Oh, very cool. There we go. So on the PDS released on DM's Guild. All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Josh. So we were talking about the pre-orders. It's right now it's retailing for just about $50, as do pretty much all of these books now. But here, we can pull that down and go back to a less cluttered view. There we go. One of the really cool things that I'm looking forward to, and I'm probably not going to pick this one up myself, but I'm really excited to see what's in it, is they have a Beetle and Grimm's edition of this one. For those of you who aren't paying attention or to what all the weird editions coming out are, the Beatles and Grimm's basically release a whole bunch of really cool 1,000 run prints of limited edition collector's editions, effectively. So they have, they're saying that this one's going to have a custom DM screen, a whole bunch of battle maps, exclusive encounter cards, in-world handouts, which I'm a big fan of random props and letters and stuff at the games. I know Reed loves doing that whenever we're doing in-game or in-table work. High-quality wearables. So we were talking about this earlier. You were saying with costume, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a hat, or what?
Earmuffs.
Figure that out. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's joking. It'd be Icewind Dale earmuffs.
And then original artwork. So it's a bunch of cool stuff in there. But as Josh is saying, it is $499. So it is a little on the pricier side. So, however, if you're really into that kind of stuff and you're a collector like I am, it might be worth it. Check it out. Then there's a whole bunch of other really cool stuff that they're pushing out there. I think that there's a dice set. There's the 2 alternate art covers, or there's the main cover and the alternate art cover. Oh, it comes with a lot of minis too. All right, awesome. I did not know that. Well, that changes the math.
Does it come with the Frostmaiden mini? That could be. I hope they do a good mini for the Frostmaiden.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could I could go in for a Frostmaiden mini. That's really cool. That's what pushes the price up. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out with the Rime of the Frostmaiden book that I'm looking forward to. But if you watched the initial announcement, they actually did an interview with a couple of guys who actually spent some time reading or writing the book. And I'm going to completely forget their names because I am a chump like that. Who was I believe it was Chris Perkins, and let's just
We have guests here to talk about.
Okay, yeah, it was Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford. So they came up and they actually talked about the book that they were writing on the announcement. And they were pointing out that there's a whole bunch of stuff that's coming out with this that's not just, this is the Icewind Dale setting, here's the adventure, go and do. They were talking about some new sort of like environmental rules. I'm assuming that's going to mean a lot of how to deal with cold and rationing and trying to stay warm in the tundra kind of stuff. They also said that they have avalanche rules now. So all of us GMs who like throwing piles of rocks and snow on our players now have rules on how to do that. We don't have to make it up ourselves. But then they were also saying that one of the things that I think is going to be interesting is games, or sport, I think is what they called it. So sports that the Goliaths and the other denizens of Icewind Dale play. And we were, again, talking about this before the stream, before cameras were live. What are you thinking about? What are you looking forward to in that whole arena of Icewind Dale extra stuff?
I'd say I think the avalanche and environment rules would be good because it probably add on things about how it works with exhaustion or things like that. I think that'll be useful for a lot of other campaigns. I'm not as excited about in-game sports, but I mean, some people really like that, so that's fine. That'll be good.
I know a lot of people really like to feel like a lived-in universe and know exactly what their guys are up to when they go to a play game or something, which is really cool. I'm glad that they're kicking out the rules for that. Then today they actually posted something about Goliath having, I believe, resistance to frost damage. Here we go. Josh is talking about the Tomb of Annihilation, where they did something about the heat and hex crawl for the heat rules and hex crawling. Hex crawling. Oh, hex crawling. Gotcha. In the Tomb of Annihilation and dinosaur racing. Yeah, there's some.
Okay, now dinosaur racing is way cool. That inherently,
I'll watch that.
Anything with dinosaurs is inherently cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff
of the game, as well as Jeremy Crawford.
But the other stuff that they were talking about coming out with is, again, making it so that you can plug and play into your own adventures here. So if you have an adventure that's, say, happening to head up into the area near the Spine of the World Mountains, well, now you have rules that you can actually plug in and let your characters roll over there. So there's some interesting stuff that I think that they're going to be able to pack in there. And again, that cover art is absolutely amazing. Have you ever played any written horror series Richard?
Just started playing some Call of Cthulhu with some folks here and there, which I thought really kind of liked the system. I've even run one campaign, although I only had one person go temporarily insane, which I think means I wasn't tough enough on the characters.
Well, I've tried running some horror, and I've found it to be hard to pace. It's a completely different aesthetic and sort of pacing thing. What kind of hurdles were you facing? And again, it's Call of Cthulhu, but it's atmosphere.
Yeah, no, it's and the pacing and I think it puts more of a premium on having a good storyteller running it, even than of course a great storyteller as a DM is always good in D&D. Yeah. But I mean, you can get by. It's a little harder to keep things moving, and again, the pacing. So we ended up doing the one session I ran. They kind of went through some of the early stuff and kind of homed in very quickly on the key thing they needed to be doing, but then so a little bit of the finding the stuff they needed to do that got a little bit bogged down, and I was having trouble keeping it all moving because I was also flipping back and forth in the book, checking rule mechanics and how the monster worked. So it was kind of a last minute thing. So it would have benefited by more prep from me, so I could have thought more about the story and pacing.
Yeah, that's that makes a lot of sense.
I'm also in a Curse of Strahd campaign, so that was our joke. Is our DM wasn't available for Curse of Strahd, so we decided that wasn't really depressing enough. Let's do Call of Cthulhu.
I was kind of expecting you to talk about the Curse of Strahd stuff and how that ties into horror, because I've never done Curse of Strahd. I've never touched Ravenloft, despite having been doing this for far too long. So I'm really excited to hear how that's actually working.
Well, we're not really into we're relatively early at Curse of Strahd, but I think, but we're more not yet into seeing the full horror. Yeah, there's been some vampire stuff, but it's more like, boy, this place just really sucks. that's our fundamental line. And we've realized we can't escape until it doesn't suck anymore. So that's what really has gotten us down. Until we make it a non-crappy place to be, we can't leave.
Well, the chat is telling you that you just need to burn it all down. So that's fair.
That's very tempting.
Josh is being all sorts of useful in the chat here. So he's saying, yeah, there's a good amount of horror in Curse of Strahd and the Adventure League Season 4 modules, Misty Fortunes and Absent Hearts. Okay,
that sounds
I'll check that out. That actually sounds really cool. And he's also saying Curse of Strahd lends itself to going full on B-movie camp to Oscar-level acting /sadness. Yeah, I could see that being a lot of fun, running around and be like, vampires, no. I think that could be fun. One of the things that I think is going to set the Icewind Dale stuff sort of apart from that is it's not everyone who's played D&D and everyone who loves the fantasy stuff like we do is familiar with Dracula, or as Curse of Strahd is, not Dracula. where everyone's sort of familiar. It's like, ooh, it's spooky Romania, it's spooky Eastern Europe, and there's a guy in a big castle and he's moping, has a big cape. Okay, we know all of this. It does sort of lend itself to weird movie or like horror movie, like movie monster kind of stuff, which is great. I love that, but it's not quite. It's not really terrifying for a lot of what's going on there. With Icewind Dale, though, if they're depending on how they pull it off, I think it can be really interesting because with sort of a cold, the team versus not just whatever horrible monsters chasing after them, but also the terrible, frightening environment. That's just if nothing happened, the environment would still kill them. That's sort of an interesting, adds extra pressure there. You can't just sit there and hide and hope that the Frost Maiden or whatever it is that's chasing us down is going to go away, because if you wait too long, you die of exposure. It's one of the reasons why the thing, right? Yeah, the thing wouldn't have worked if it was just happening on, some secluded island in the middle of the Caribbean. It's like,
well, and Josh just mentioned in the chat that the writers of Icewind Dale said the thing was an influence, so that's interesting.
Hey. Cool. Yeah, we need to get Josh on sometime because I've clearly was bumbling around at that point. But yeah, the idea of having the environment as an additional, not just, this is moody and depressing, but an additional sort of horror bad guy is a really, really cool thing that I'm...
yes, you escaped. Now you have to survive the blizzard.
Yeah. Escape again. Well, we had...
Work in the Dyatlov Pass incident at some point. That'd be good, too.
Just Donner party it up? Is that where you're going?
No, Dyatlov Pass is like in the Soviet Union, the hikers on the snow-swept mountain, and it looks like they all ran out of the tents without putting on their clothes and died of exposure, and a lot of mysteries about it.
Yeah, like the low-level background radiation and
there's a lot of weird stuff about that. Read the hours of fun reading the Wikipedia page about that, But that could be a thing, not just, do you put your armor on or not, or do you put on all your heavy winter clothes to respond to whatever someone running off with your supplies? Do you chase them? There could be a lot of really hard decisions to make for players with the environment.
Now, I'm seeing you said that the lack of beer is the true horror of Barovia. I'm going to need you to unpack that a little bit there.
No, so I'm playing a dwarf who took brewer skill, proficiency in brewer's tool. He's a brewer, son of a brewer. And he goes, "Can I get a beer or ale?" "No, we only have wine, and we're almost out of wine." And that was so the gloom, the vampires. That's not getting to him. The lack of beer is what's getting to him.
Gotcha. That's not great. That's
And our other joke was if we decided we wanted to go into business making beer there, we'd find out, oh no, you have to, the guy who makes the glass vessels, you have to go help him and save him from some horrible fate, or he won't be able to make you a brewing vessel so you can brew beer to improve the land. Everything turns into, you need to help me with this problem, and it's horrible and depressing.
Yeah, that does sort of tie back into the the environment itself being a horror monster that's out to get you, but kind of in a less direct way. But I love that. That's fun. Well, that's actually one of the things I'm excited to talk, or somebody I'm excited to talk to this about, and is actually going to be Reed, because one of the campaigns that you and I both actually met on was a campaign that he was running, and we had a us versus the environment and a horror movie monster kind of thing when we were running away from we had to survive in the woods, and then there was a giant zombie horde.
There was a blizzard and a crap ton of zombies.
Yeah, and we had to deal with that. So I'm interested to see how the rules for this are going to play into that, and I'm actually quite interested to see what Reed's going to have to say about the rules and how he's interested in using them, or not interested in using them, just wants to do his own thing. Whatever works for him. So out there in the chat, I know we've been going on for a while, but if there's anything you guys are interested in seeing in Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, let us know. If you've read any of the R.A. Salvatore books for the Icewind Dale series, also let us know. It's Richard said that he read the Crystal Shard, but that's 200 years before all of this happened, so who knows how relevant that's going to be anymore. But we can talk about this. Confession, never read any of the Forgotten Realms books. So, sorry, guys. And otherwise, if there's any other stories out there that you think that we neglected to talk about, or you have any questions about any of the stories here, there's a few more things I want to go into on Icewind Dale, just how excited I am about it. Mainly the art, it looks so amazing. But if there's any other stories you think that we want to talk about, let us know. Here we go, Josh's. Have you seen any of the minis that WizKids that they're releasing in coordination of the books? Any favorites? What about the premium figure? I haven't seen that, but let's go. I've seen the... Actually, no, I saw the box that they had on that. Let's actually see. No, I actually haven't seen any of the minis. Huh. That's very disappointing.
Baby polar owlbears, according to Mr. Swiftink.
Baby polar owlbears. Oh my goodness, that sounds absolutely amazing. Let's see if I can find this real fast, because it sounds really cool. And the WizKids minis are really nice. Everything that they've been pushing out for all of their pre-paint or pre-primed stuff is super fantastic to paint. And their pre-painted stuff is really, really cool. Because you don't really have to worry about making it go. Okay, here we go. So we got Icewind Dale Frostmaiden minis. Okay, so we're gonna have to deal with ice giants. I'm not looking forward to dealing with ice giants, but we're gonna get to do it. Here we go. Gallery. So we got ice giants, ice trolls, beautiful
ice trolls.
We have a Yeti. I mean, who doesn't need a Yeti?
Gotta have Yetis.
Ice Witch.
They were in Crystal Shard.
Yeah. Winter Wolf and a Barbarian. All right, nice minis, but nothing to write home about, I think. Here we go. Aurel. It looks like maybe the Frost Maiden in a couple different forms. That's cool. And yeah, some more. There we go. Snowy Owlbear. Oh, it has a little rock that it's going to kill you with. I love it. Yeah, these are really cool. I didn't know that they had to actually push these down. Thank you so much there, Josh. Here we go. We got a Fancy Dwarf. I love it. Wow, there's just so many. Dragon of Black Ice, Frost Giant Skeleton, Icewind Dale GM screen. Wow, yeah. So this is going to be a full-on launch, guys. I am super excited about that. They will kill you and eat you as a meat popsicle. Yes, that is how polar owlbears work. Yeah. So, is there anything in there that you're particularly looking forward to, Rich, about the upcoming announcements with Icewind Dale? You can try and pick up any of the limited edition stuff, or just buy the main one?
Probably not the limited edition stuff, but the polar owlbears, some of the other miniatures.
Yeah. Have you ever played with any or picked up any of the pre-painted editions that they could push out with each one? Or
no, I haven't. I haven't really been getting those, but at the moment, most of the time, I what's been happening lately, I've got a bunch of old miniatures, and I keep making up characters, role-playing games, and it turns out, I've got a miniature just like that. So I think I'm subconsciously building characters to match my old miniatures and not realizing it when I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's how I do a lot of it. But for NPCs and stuff, having pre-painted is really nice. So there we go, Mr. Snifwick. I just dropped the gallery in the chat. It's off of ICV2. I've never heard of the website, but they have a nice gallery of all these minis. So enjoy.
Ooh,
I don't know.
Frost Giant Ravager. He looks.
Yeah, right. It's huge. It's angry, and it's very clearly a Frost Giant. It's got that. I don't know. Was that a worm skull or something? A bunch of giants from their Storm King's Thunder, the Monsters Menagerie. Yeah. In one of the last campaign, or the last campaign I played before I moved out of New Jersey down to DC, we were doing what was it? It was Reign of Winter. It was a Pathfinder campaign, but there's a encounter where you're in Baba Yaga's hut, and all of a sudden you need to go out. You need to go outside and do something, and you get ambushed by something like a dozen ice giants, and my frost giants. Yeah, it was not great. And my DM spent the money to go through all the blind boxes and buy a dozen ice giant miniatures about that large. They were basically action figure sized. He's like, and there's an ice giant. And we're like, oh no, because we're like level 3 at this point. He's like, and another one. And just for about 2 minutes was pulling out ice giants and slamming them into the table. And it was sitting there like, this is the worst thing ever. Why would you do this? And so yeah, it was like $300 worth of minis for that one scene. The man is insane. Love him.
They're much cheaper ways to have a total party kill.
We somehow survived it. I'm gonna attribute that to my paladin running out and shooing them away or something, or distracting them and getting smeared across the ice. But the party survived and got away in the magic hut. It was great. Let's see, same solid models. Yeah, the Storm King's Thunder models are really nice. Guaranteed that's supposed to be a white dragon skull. Yeah, absolutely. Any of the models out there speaking to you guys? I really like the polar owlbear, of course, but that Yeti is really nice. I have piles and piles of owlbear minis. I don't think I actually have any Yetis, so I'm gonna have to try and pick that up. Let's see. Any other news that you're thinking about there, Rich, that we didn't cover that we should probably go into? Or anything you want to go back about and talk about?
So.
All right. Anything for the chat?
Leaps to mind.
Say again?
Nothing leaps to mind.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I think we've pretty much exhausted what we had planned. So we're going to go ahead and take a short break here, guys. We need to reset some cameras, get some other people in here. And we'll be back in about 10 minutes to talk about some of the happenings around the Games Tavern. So you all don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. All right, see you guys shortly. Hey everybody, welcome back. As you can see, we've had a slight change of scenery here. Richard is still here with us. Yeah, we have Reed, who's just been hanging out below us for a while, and Josh joining in on the crew. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's been happening on the stream. First up, we're talking about the Tomb of Horrors campaign that we've been running. If for those of you who haven't been watching, it was out of the Tales of the Yawning Portal book. I like having props. There we go. So it's one of the, if you're not familiar with the Tales of the Yawning Portal, it has a bunch of different modules and adventures in it. And they're all old school or throwback modules of some kind. So very few, I don't think any of the things actually new in that module. And the reason why I wanted to run the Tomb of Horrors was because it's everything I wanted it to be. I love old school role-playing games. It is the world's longest one-shot. Yes, that's right, Richard. I love old school role-playing games, and I love I love dungeon crawls, and there's nothing that's more iconic than the Tomb of Horrors from old school dungeon crawls. Things happened. It was a lot longer than I was expecting it to be, but I tried to run it as close to rules as written as I could for a couple of different reasons. One of them is that I'm still new to DMing in 5th edition, so I don't know all of the random formulas you need to know in the back of your head to be able to get things to go off correctly. So anything that you guys saw on stream, except for I think there was 2 things that I changed specifically, and we'll talk about those when we get to them. But everything else, there were a couple changes I made that were mistakes, and I just rolled with them because why not?
And no one knew.
Yeah. No, somebody actually did call me out in the chat on one of them, actually.
Oh, really?
Like, oh, okay. Yeah, it was the siren. The mechanics of the siren were slightly different than how I played it. I was like, oh, well.
No, actually, you played it correctly. That person was incorrect.
No, it was when they join the party, the gold is supposed to disappear before they grab it. But if you grab the gold, then you can recruit it and have 1 bag of gold. Yeah, it was. That's how I thought it was.
Left the area, but okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's why I wanted to run it, just because it was an old school sort of thing, everything I wanted to do. Besides just playing more Dungeons and Dragons, was there a reason why you guys wanted to jump in on the Tomb of Horrors?
I mean, it's iconic, or described as such, so I wanted a chance to play it.
Had you never played it before?
No, I mean, I'd heard of it, and I had glanced at the big map that they put out a couple years ago, but never actually played it.
Yeah, I forgot about that map.
I had played it in about 1983 under the AD&D rules, but that was also when they had the massively overpowered psionic rules, which is how we avoided a lot of death and badness.
Oh, don't even remind me of those days. Yeah.
Oh, an unescapable trap. Well, I'll teleport to safety.
Yeah, psionics was an interesting part of AD&D that
massively overpowered.
Yeah,
that was the magic bypassing system.
So overall, what did you saying? Again, going that I was trying to do it as close to rules as written as possible. What were you guys thinking on that? Because it can be a very frustrating dungeon with the amount of clues and stuff that get dropped, or don't, as the case may be.
Yeah, I thought I would see stuff as we went along that would make it easier to figure out the riddle, but I really didn't.
I'm not gonna lie. Until I had to have the riddle printed out next to me as I was running through this. I'm like, what is this? Oh, it means this. So I had to keep figuring it out. It doesn't tell me what the riddle means in the book.
I had it up like in a browser window, looking like, huh? No, not getting it.
Yeah, that's what I did too, and I kept referring to it over and over again. I kept checking colors, order of things, and then I had to wonder. I still wonder to this point because we haven't finished it. I still wonder to this moment if the order actually matters or if it doesn't.
It does. The riddle is effectively a walkthrough of the dungeon. It's weird and it's
provided you walk through it in order.
Yeah, you don't teleport.
Yeah. Thanks to player ingenuity, we wrecked that idea.
Yeah, one of the sort of bugbears that I had with the dungeon is there was a lot of things where it's like the only way to get through this door is this way, and people are like, "Well, I tried this thing." It's like, it doesn't work. Why not? Because it says it doesn't. I got nothing for you. So I was that was kind of annoying.
Magic.
Yeah, so I ended up doing the whole thing is radioactively magic, and just that's what's going on here. If I don't let you through, sorry, because that is kind of annoying as a DM to, say no. That's not something I've ever tried to get out and do. Although all equally annoying as a DM is when you guys got so close to so many correct answers.
And then didn't.
You remember the gargoyle with the 3 hands that was crushing stones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're supposed to give it all of the stones you got off the other gargoyle, and you get a stone of true sight. And you can just walk through the dungeon, seeing all the illusions and all of the doors.
Hey guys, I know what we're doing before we get done now.
It's like, oh,
No.
so close. No, you guys are so close to the exit now. You're not. If we get back in there, you're not jumping back. The doors will lock behind you. You're not leaving.
Yeah, they locked before.
But yeah, there was a couple overall. The trap wise, what did you guys think about that? Were they too easy to find? Too hard to find?
Oh no,
punishing?
we found them easily, the hard way.
We found them with our face. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a confession to make now, Mac.
Okay.
The one thing I remembered from playing it before was the hallway that tilts down and you slide into the fire. That's why I took the slippers of spider climb.
That works. Yeah, that was fair. That was fair.
That was the one. But as you saw me fumbling around, I remembered almost nothing else of real importance. That was one of the ones I survived with psionics when we did it before.
I'd also say Josh's character was the MVP of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
we're only still alive because of him.
Coming up with all sorts of creative solutions that completely ruin everything that the book says.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I really wanted to play a wizard that could throw some stuff out there and see if it stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for letting that near-death experience actually work.
Yeah, that was
portable hole.
Yeah, we probably should have died.
Yeah,
that was dumb.
Now, that was one of the things I actually changed though, because all the material does get teleported to that room. It doesn't say anything about there being a treasure chest in there though, so I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. Where it would just show up there and be on the floor? No, it goes into a treasure chest, and then you guys decided to jump through. It's like, okay, so you're locked in a treasure chest now. Congratulations, everybody. But you guys had a good solution to get out of that, so that worked. It was frustrating, but good for you. And the only other thing I did change in there was one of the archways.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was the one in the chapel.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, where
the altar that basically kills people.
Yeah, you put you walked people through, and I think I was saying that they basically got hit with a spell like True Polymorph, and they became a sheep on the other side.
That was a bad joke.
That's not what it did in the book. And this is a direct rip from this is actually one of the biggest problems that I had with it porting directly from AD&D and 0D&D to today is a lot of the stuff didn't age well. This one had the trap was a gender and alignment reversal, and just played for laughs. It's like, I'm good. We don't need to do that.
Okay, we use that later. Yeah,
they do that in Tomb of Annihilation as well.
In the Vault of the Drow and heaved him through it to make him a good guy once. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that, and it's just it's an odd.
It happened to my character, but I'd forgotten about it. Yeah.
It creates it can create some awkwardness in some players.
Yeah, and we've kind of moved forward than that on a game, so I'd play around with that, and I try to avoid forcing someone's role play. Be like, oh no, sorry, now you're evil. It's like,
that makes sense.
Okay, great. So what are you going to do there? So those are the two things I intentionally did change. Everything else was the book as written. All of the very low CR values. I don't think that there was a CR to detect anything above a 20, which is one of the big reasons why I was actually not accepting passive perception for finding things, because Reed, you had a passive of 28 or something like that?
26, I think it was. Because I took the observant feat, because that character, I had that character from before for other things, and that's how we tooled him up.
Yeah, if you had just, if we'd been playing with that, you could just walk through and say, oh, there's something, and there's something, and there's something. And it's just like, you win the dungeon. Congratulations. So there's a lot of stuff that just didn't port in because I don't think passive perception was a thing
spotting
back
that
then.
something's off. There's ways to do it that from my and I DM too. Mac, we've got some rapport there. And
DM?
Josh, you're a heck of a DM too. I've actually played in a lot of games by Josh, so I mean, there's somebody to really catch some information from. He's very modest about it, but the detection of something doesn't mean that you get it right what you spot. You could think it's a secret door and it's actually a pit trap full of spikes. So there's some additional steps you can take with that. And of course, there's always the easiness of just raising the DC and making it a pain. But then if only one character can spot it because the DC's been raised consistently, then everybody else is going to up a creek if he dies.
Yeah, so that was kind of the balance I had to try and figure out a way to strike, and just getting rid of passive perception made it sort of a fair field for everybody, because you still had a ridiculous perception bonus to be able to find things. You just had to say, I'm looking at this thing for that. But all of the traps are like DC 20, and if you spot it, you can just do another perception check, and you can find the mechanism to solve it at also DC 20. So it's just like, okay, I'm trying to keep it as rules as written as possible without ramping things up. So that was kind of the compromise I had to make, and wasn't wild about it, but it worked.
I think the thing that set the tone for me is the trap within the trap very early on.
Right.
The very first trap that we found basically screwed us twice. And that at that point nothing was being taken for granted.
Yeah, that was some fun stuff. So what were your guys' favorite parts of what we've run through so far, or at least most memorable or interesting, or things that you would like to see in future dungeons or might put in dungeons that you're running?
Josh?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. The fact that the traps were deadly, we had a character lose an arm, that arm doesn't come back. So that features like that are nice. What I would have liked to seen a little bit of would be like an urgency. I think we discussed this in the chat room. The fact that there's no reason not to just spend an hour in every room doing the slow crawl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about trying to put stuff in there, but it very specifically says that there are no wandering monsters. There's nothing in this dungeon except what's written on the pages. And again, going for the whole rules as written thing, it's like, yeah, that's what we got to do. So I fully agree with you on that.
Thing to keep in mind, and not so much a great thing, but this is one of the things that happened when we did it, and it got moved into our campaign. We did it. I think they changed some of the stuff in there's like various adamantine doors. That if we can get those out of there, that's a king's ransom of adamantine. That's like buy a kingdom worth of adamantine.
Yeah, the door's like a foot thick, and
no, they had that. Well, the version they had with when old school was it was like these giant mithril doors that were 3 feet thick. And I started working. I did the math. As guess what? One of these doors is the gross national product of the United States.
Yeah, some of the stuff in there was absolutely ridiculous.
Well, but then our DM, of course, had to make us pay for it, because then the dwarves showed up from a kingdom demanding their stolen mithril from 500 years ago when the tomb was built.
It works.
We had to negotiate a finder's fee.
What I did like is the construct that you had set up with the party wagon up on the surface, allowing for players to easily come in and out.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
The idea there was that we can have, because I was on the off chance that it was going to be a longer run, off chance. I wanted to have some kind of mechanic.
We were going to have more deaths early, yeah.
Yeah, that was really what I was expecting it to be, was for it to be a far deadlier dungeon, and that was your mechanic to have your understudies come in. But yeah, I'm glad you guys like. How did you guys like the the saddlebags of holding that had all the basic adventuring gear in there?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Worthwhile thing for you guys?
For what we were doing, I think it fit. I think I might actually invent saddlebags of holding as an actual magic item and load it up and make that something that people can buy. But I think that some of the tropes in there were good. I definitely would like to see some more smart expedition planning before going into a dungeon as part of a campaign sometimes too. But you don't want to also bog down a campaign with planning either. That gets real boring real fast. So.
Yeah, my thought behind that process was because it was technically a bottled adventure. We weren't going to spend the time saying, "All right, you guys are buying these things and that things and those things."
Mhm.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
you're all experienced adventurers. You were 12, I think. So yeah, sure, you guys get, you know that you need to have this much rope. You know that you need to have piles of torches. You know you need to have rations and bedrolls and spare swords in case you lose yours. You know you need all this stuff. So sure, just throw all that stuff in the saddlebags. We'll be fine. Because no one wants to roleplay that kind of thing unless it's like important. At which point, I remove them from you. Oh, the saddlebag ate your stuff. Bye. But wasn't going to do that.
That sounds like something you'd do.
Yeah. Well, there was also the one of the portals put you out in front of in front naked. Like it takes all your stuff away.
Yeah.
So it's like we need ways to give you guys back some kind of thing. Otherwise, we're going to be getting angry phone calls from the people.
Really awkward play moments at that point.
That was also especially cruel to the poor drow out in the surface. In the sunshine.
Now it's all sunburned.
What I appreciated was being able to play a level 12 character, because how many campaigns last that long to get to that level?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played above like 7. That's
it. Yeah, we're gonna push the envelope there on Whiskey, Magic, and Destruction there, Mac, and I'm pretty sure the Velkin Weave will get you there too. So
I'm glad you guys like the higher level
character
stuff.
at that level.
Provided Adgern survives.
I'll just whatever. I'll go make my own game with hookers and blackjack at that point.
Have any of you played Tomb of Annihilation?
I haven't. I'm looking for. I just picked it up
because that dungeon actually shares the same villain, Asarok.
Yeah.
And basically, when you play through that, you'll see all the influence of Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah,
basically,
that's more than just dungeon crawl though too. There's like there's some travel. There's like all sorts of extra plot, and I think if just because I've heard the stories. Don't they have a sense of urgency as well?
Yes, right at the very start of the hardcover, there's a death curse going on that introduces an excellent sense of urgency.
Like a global death curse.
Yes.
Okay, that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll be the impetus to keep moving. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think they offer a meat grinder mode as well, where you can increase the difficulty of your death save in order to get like 10% bonus of XP and gold.
Yeah, I saw that. That's because I just picked it up. It's on the shelf back there. Because while I do really like the idea of the Tomb of Horrors, having one that was a whole adventure that was kind of built around the 5th edition mechanics seems kind of vital. And that was one of the things that people were talking about. It's like, if you want to make it deadlier, amp the death save up. And give them this kind of thing. So that's really cool. Have you actually played it?
I didn't play it, but I did run it for a full year with Adventurers League.
Okay.
So I had them start at the very beginning and do the final boss battle.
Nice. Everyone had a good time, right?
Everyone loved it. It was tied into Season 7 of Adventurers League, and it was a blast.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good time.
That Season 7 Adventures League also had some rules that kind of modified the death curse to account for the high death rate and turnover. So some mechanics you might want to look into if you're going to run it.
Yeah, that's all available on the DM's Guild, right?
Should be, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that's.
How did you feel about the Adventurers League additional content for that too? Because the Adventurers League usually does additional content. How was that?
I actually didn't play that many of their modules for Season 7, but Wizards of the Coast did release some kind of modules that tied into it. Beasts of the Jungle Rot, I think, was one of them that provided additional rules on dinosaurs and dinosaur eggs and all that type of stuff, if you wanted to raise them or harvest them. And the Runes of Mesro was another good module that fleshed out an entire city that was otherwise just a dot on the map of Chult.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to add extra content that doesn't really interfere with the main book, but it's not necessary, but it adds on. I really like that. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, we actually got to play that, or I ran that rather, as part of the hardcover, as one of the dots on the map that they passed through in order to get to the tomb.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's actually one of the things with the original Adventurers Reincarnated that they did was they took a lot of it looks like Adventurers League size, things that you can do in one night and bolted on extra rooms and areas to these really old school modules to sort of give them more modern flavor. So that's I'm interested in doing that. But you were saying that the Adventurers League has that kind of thing for pretty much all of their releases, right? Or for most of them?
They tend to kind of have the time figured out. It's going to be 2, 4, 8 hours, and they will break it up in the intro section as to how long each section should take, and then they'll provide advice on party strength. So if you're got 5 level 10s rolling in, but the adventure is designed for 5 level 5s, they have suggestions on how to modify it on the fly.
That's cool. Now, I've never actually done Adventurers League. That makes it so if I wanted to start, I would start a level 1 character and just run through, and I get to take that same character everywhere I go as the same thing. Is that how that typically works, or is it every time I get there I have to change my level 1 to fit the thing that we're going to? I make him a level 5 or level 2 or whatever.
The vast majority is for portability, so you should be able to play that level 1 at any other tier 1 game.
All right, very cool.
Yeah, Josh is a wealth of knowledge to hit up for stuff when you want to hit him up.
Yeah, he's always in the chat just giving us all sorts of great things that none of us thought about. So, love having him around. One day I'm going to have to actually, play a game he's running.
So what... yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and if you're looking to argue some arcane rules point on Discord, I will be there for you on the weekends.
Yeah, that happens.
Mm-hmm. So, Dungeon Maxter, I have a question for you.
I have an answer. Let's see if they match.
Out of what we've played so far in that series of ill-fated one-shots,
it's a single one-shot, but okay.
It's a series of ill-fatedly named one-shots.
It's a one-shot in like 7 parts, just whatever.
Yeah. What was your favorite part so far for what you got to do as the Dungeon Master?
The part I was most looking forward to was I think I enjoyed it the most too. Was the false end fight where you fought what was just a zombie, but had magic mouth on it and was animated to look like Esarok. That's all that was. No, that wasn't him. It was just a zombie.
I was like, wait a minute, did we just?
So easy. Yeah.
This is the none of us even went down. What's going on?
That can't be it.
Well, when Josh cast slow, I was like, yes, now I don't have to, figure out some reason why he's not casting. Just be like, oh, no, I'm rolling so poorly, I don't get to cast this turn.
So,
yeah, that was that was the one I was looking forward to. Get off me. Sorry, my cat's eating my foot. Meow.
Oh, man, you're familiar. So,
yeah,
was there anything that the players did? I mean, aside from the ridiculous part where we all got into a portable hole and
after we used the spell to get divine guidance, then went, no, we're not going to go that way.
Yeah. So after the portable hole thing, was there anything? Because that was ridiculous.
It's like, all right, you're talking now. It's like, hey,
we dead.
Somebody asked,
that's
God.
Crazy. It just might work.
Gosh, if you thought we were dead, like you were the only one who didn't think that. Who, at least when we were playing it, because I was like, oh my gosh, well, we're gonna breathe for a while, and Josh, your character was like, oh no, we've only begun to explore options. Hang on, and you just kept pulling magic out of your hat. And it was like, just here's something else we can do. Here's something else we can do. I was like,
when the 2 clerics failed the divine intervention roll, I was going,
yeah. I thought we were basically all about to start new characters right then and there.
Yeah, I realized
we were in a chest. I was like, wait a minute.
I was face palming so hard during that time. I'm like,
but then, you had the bottle of water. You just happen to have the ever flowing bottle of water.
I had that.
Yeah.
And then Josh had water breathing on all of us anyway, already cast, and it was like
24 hours.
I think we got an option. We got a chance here.
Yeah, and then it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was mildly frustrating. Your players or your characters' refusals to die was very frustrating. What else?
Well, I think that also contributed to the link because instead of we were being cautious because we were expecting to die.
Yeah, and for what it is worth, in the original module, if you fall into a pit trap, you take damage, and then the poison is a 50-50 shot to kill you immediately. That's how lethal it was back then. Nowadays, you just take like 10 poison damage. It's like, oh. Woo.
Yeah, but then you have the poisoned effect.
I don't think it contributed to poison effect outside of a couple different. In general, some of them only gave you poison. Some of them actually did for like toxic or poison or something like that.
Mm.
So it was. It could have been deadlier or ramped up a little bit more. They were just speed bumps. They weren't really things that actually got in people's way.
Mm.
Oh, the sphere of annihilation inside the mouth that Pond found. I was really hoping someone was going to crawl into that.
And then the bottom half of their body flops back.
Yeah, exactly. That was. It's like, oh, you didn't do that either.
Yeah, after I fired a crossbow with the light spell on it, it basically like thump. I was like, nah, I'm not putting my hand in that. Yeah, whatever that is, that's not where my arm is going.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now, I think what would have been terrifying is a roving sphere of annihilation that just goes through and
sort of shows up and blinks around. Yeah, there's some terrifying things that could have happened there. If you had wandering monsters or moving or resetting encounters, there's a lot of stuff you could have done there. And I'm hoping some of that actually did get brought into Tomb of Annihilation.
Yes, it does.
So happy.
So I'm curious, what resets all the traps? I mean, like, obviously we weren't the first adventurers to be there, but there's all these traps that obviously...
Magic. Most of the traps actually were kind of self-resetting, or because all the pit traps were cantilevered, so they would close back up after a while. All of the crossbow bolts apparently just had unlimited supply of crossbow bolts in the ceilings. Same with spears behind false doors. The only traps that I guess didn't or that would have needed help resetting were some of the like the false door trap in the first room where you open it up and there's a fireball behind it, or in the second room, I guess. Yeah,
I heard a rumor that demons were running around resetting all the traps for him when no one was looking.
maybe
like a series of imps, maybe.
There was the thing where if you like teleport or go ethereal or planes walk or plane step or whatever it is, if you do any like relocation spells, you have a chance to summon demons.
That happened.
Which is exactly what happened. Yeah, it was basically roll a d20 on a 1 through like 15, you're fine, and I rolled a 19, so got that horrible monster thing. Which if Josh hadn't, you banished it, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh, wait, no, never mind, go away. And it's like, oh, thank you, because this thing, it had like 6 multi-attack, and whoever it got its hands on, it would just rip in half, and it was a boss fight in itself. It was
something horrible.
Yeah, it was nothing pleasant. It was nope, not there. Here we go. A Glabrazu.
That's not something small.
No, it's not. It's that's why I was like, oh, well, how are you gonna get out of this one? Because it's
a party killer.
Yeah, and it got no attacks off, so good on you guys.
See, Josh, MVP.
Yeah.
Each and every time.
Yeah. From now on, Josh is only allowed to play fighters at my table.
Eldritch Knight? Hey.
I just made one of those. I was testing it out. It looked pretty cool.
What is an Eldritch Knight?
Because
I'm really bad at rules. What actually is an Eldritch Knight?
They're a 1/3 wizard.
It's a so it's a fighter. It's a fighter archetype that is a 1/3 wizard. Aren't they usually called like half casters, something like that?
Technically,
like a
if
ranger
you're
kind of thing.
The levels, it counts as a 1/3, whereas like a ranger, I think, would be like a half caster.
Okay.
Based on spell progression.
Yeah, so 1/3. But there's, they limit the spells except for a few exceptions.
There's some nice cantrips though.
Abjuration and evocation.
Fun.
Similar to how the arcane trickster can only do illusion and enchantments. but there are some exceptions at various levels. You can have some spells that are not in that list. So you have some room to do any spell here and there at various levels. You can get one spell that's not in that list.
Interesting.
Plus, they get the weapon bond, so they can
Yeah.
summon a weapon to them. 2 of them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
See, I was just thinking it was like a, what was that thing from World of Warcraft 10, 15 years ago? Where it was the, I don't know, the big Death Knight. I was thinking it was like a Death Knight kind of thing, an undead fighter monster thing, but I guess not.
Yeah. And I actually tooled mine up a little bit different. Well, maybe it's not different. It may be actually the thing to do. So the abjuration and evocation stuff, a lot of people want to go straight offensive right away, as much damage as possible, stuff like that.
Why wouldn't you?
I specifically looked up spells that were reaction spells. So
that's clever.
In the action economy, well, I mean, not all of them are, but as many as I could get in there that worked, kind of did. So shield, a fighter can be a tank, and an arcane trickster, not an arcane trickster, an eldritch knight has that option as well. So when you can do some things that enhance its tank ability pretty quickly, but don't take away your actions, bonus actions, or free actions, that's a pretty big deal.
Now, is that
So
available at level 1? Or
Element. Go ahead.
Is Eldritch Knight available at level 1, or is that something you have to...
3, I
Level
think.
3 archetype.
Okay.
Yeah, so shield, was it absorb elements, which not only lets you, if you know the kind of damage you're about to take of certain elements, you can absorb it, and then with your next physical attack, you get to take that damage and put it into the opponent as well. So you get some bonus damage on that too.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I like taking spells that don't depend on the intelligence modifier as well, because it's probably going to be pretty low unless you're doing some crazy stuff with the stats.
Yeah, he's not going to be the power wizard type of the group. He's there to tank, so he has some additional features that are flavorful, useful, fit the profile of the character without taking away completely from it. Go ahead.
What'd you take for the one spell or cantrip that could be of any class, or not class, but magic type?
I don't know that I took anything outside of abjuration and evocation for that character. I think I kept it in that list, but I can pull it up real quick and tell you. Hang on a sec.
What source book is
Find
this?
Familiar is a fun one.
It is, but if there's a wizard in a party, chances are they have a familiar.
Tell that to Bo.
Yeah. Well, Bope has a familiar.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does.
Oh, it's absolutely the rabbit, right?
It is.
Pickles or
yeah.
whatever his name is.
Lightning Lure and Thunderclap are my cantrips because they allow me to push people away and or bring people to me. Absorb Elements, Shield, for their ability to increase my tankiness, and just in case the tank starts to get overwhelmed, he'll drop Thunder Wave and knock everybody, or at least as many as possible, back if it's small groups. So at third level, yeah, you've got some real opportunity there. You just got to be careful where you drop that Thunder Wave if you're too close to your friends. So
Yeah. Now you don't get access to the colleges of magic, right? Where you can't like sculpt spells and stuff.
no, there's none of that. But it's not that we're not that scalpel like with our magic.
He could drop 2 levels into Wizard, though, and go War Wizard or Evocation
Yeah,
for that option.
yeah, I could. But I could also take a feat to give me like Ritual Caster or Spell Acolyte and just pick up a couple extras here and there too.
Yeah.
And then still retain all the other stuff, but keep a flavor that goes with that. And then I was going Greatsword only for equipment on that, but I may do Longsword instead. So I don't know. It was just something I was thinking about. But yeah, I would like to try that in a dungeon and see how well it does. That should be good.
That could be really
traps,
cool.
as far as traps go, that may not be the best character for it. So.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I'm thinking about stuff I have back there. I don't know. I've picked up too many books recently. I haven't even opened Baldur's Gate, and I picked it up like 2 weeks ago. I've barely opened the Tomb of Annihilation. Just picked that up. I have those 3 books up there that I'm working on.
I just had a thought, on how Tomb of Annihilation plays a little bit differently than a lot of other dungeons I go into. When I go into a lot of these dungeons that are made now, like, you're expecting monsters, and then you'll have the occasional trap, and the reason it's so, it gets you is because it's a trap, right? You weren't expecting it, or you got lucky and you found it. But with Tomb of Horrors, you find out very early on that it's traps, and so you're now looking for traps like crazy, and then when the monster shows up, it's like, oh, holy crap, what the hell's that? And, that happened with the first gargoyle that we came across, the forum gargoyle. And then
in room 2.
Yeah, but I would have probably been more spooked if there were more creatures. I think we fought a mummy.
Yeah, it was like a half mummy, effectively.
I don't think we fought anything else really, except the Glabrizu, which was a surprise.
Yeah, and the zombie. So you fought the gargoyle.
Zombie like Asarak,
yeah. And some flying swords, right?
Right, yeah, flying swords. Yeah. But those were...
Yeah, I can say more like a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it was cool to finally get to use the cantrip that can hit as many things within 5 feet of you as you can see. I got that, never got very many chances to use it back when I was originally doing a character who got it.
Yeah, that worked out for you.
I just figured, okay, I'm surrounded. That's the one you want,
Oh, Eldritch Knight is in the PHB. So I don't read the rulebook, apparently. And by apparently, I will go ahead and say that. I don't read the rulebook. Oops.
Fail.
Yep.
You're a fail at this station.
Yep, I am. I'm bad at this. There can only be one dire rabbit. Mr. Peppers. Okay. I actually wasn't too far off. Awesome. Yeah, I'm just catching up on the chat because I was listening to you guys. You're far too interesting. So you guys up to any interesting hobby projects for the time being that's not coming up on stream?
Hobby projects not on stream are some scenery stuff that I'm building for when we are able to come back together. Some more encounter builds that I'm just building for plugins in general. What about you guys? What are you up to, Josh?
I actually need to dust off all of my minis because I have all my giants sitting on top of a bookshelf with a giant ship, and it's a little too dusty, and I know the giants are going to be seeing some use in the next couple weeks or months here.
Is it a giant ship, like it's just very big, or it's a ship for giants?
No, this one would actually be like a 3-tier, 3-mast ship for like regular PCs.
Oh, okay.
I got it on Etsy about a year ago.
Very cool.
And it's an amazing build. The giants sit on it, but they are definitely overwhelming in size.
Awesome. Richard, you up to anything?
I've got a couple of electronics projects I'm filling with. I want to do something for some better lighting. I got some LED strips I've mounted to a piece of aluminum extrusion, and so I got to see if it's got enough heat sinking to not overwhelm them, or if I need to do something to control the intensity. Then the next step will be to add a microcontroller with variable brightness and then make it web or Bluetooth controlled. But that's like about 3 steps into the project.
He does different hobby work than we do. That's
no. I do the same stuff. I love it. I love what Richard does, man. He and I talk, and we're just trying to figure out a way to put LEDs into some cool cosplay without setting me on fire.
EL wire.
Yep.
EL wire is the answer there because it runs cool, and you just have to have a power pack and like a fanny pack or something.
Yeah, and we know me. Power pack will set me on fire.
Oh, I was going to say you're just a fanny pack guy. Like that's where that conversation was going.
No, it'll maybe in a leather pouch that looks like a fanny pack.
A belt pouch, a kidney pouch.
Like a rogue's tool pouch, maybe.
Yeah, well, I would use EL wire when I was when I was LARPing. I would play a witch hunter that could make like positive energy barriers and stuff to stop vampires, and I would use EL wire to represent all that stuff, and it would all charge out of my out of my kidney belt or kidney pouch I had on my belt. The hair is a fire hazard though, so uses far too much product in it. That's
So does anyone have any one-shots they're thinking of running kind of in the back of their head that 2 weeks notice they could pull together?
Oh right, yeah, we're working on that project, aren't we?
So there is a project I'm working on, but I can't say anything about it yet because it's not ready. But there is a one shot that I'm considering running, a goblin heist of sorts.
Yeah, that could be really fun.
Yeah.
You've looked at the Weeby Goblins, right?
I have not, but you guys did talk to me about it in Discord, and when I get half a chance, I will look it up. What I want to get my ideas out first, and then I'll look at that. If it adds to it, great. But I don't want something that's going to color my ideas until after I get them on the. It's just part of my process.
Sure, sure.
But I have noticed that I've been very much watching a great deal of heist movies recently, for some interesting feedback and ideas on some things coming up. So
Good do the Gobtalion job.
dude, don't you tempt me, because the Italian Job is actually the movie I'm watching next.
Oh,
it's already
the
literally
Michael Caine version or the new
Michael
one?
Caine.
Watch yeah, I got to do the Michael Caine version.
The young Michael Caine, I might add. It's like a different animal, man.
I mean, that was just a couple years after Zulu, I think. Like, that's...
Yeah.
It's mid-60s, I think.
Yeah.
Stylish dude. Young guy, you know. Speaking of heists, let's try that again.
Oh, yeah.
What are we talking about?
That heists.
Ah, there it is. They're getting the heist on the chat. Okay, cool. Go win. Go make a ton of platinum.
I have no idea how that works, but I'm glad people are enjoying it. I see it happening, and there's a lot of fun things happening in there.
It adds so much fun. You can do heists on our chat.
Excellent.
But, speaking of actors who are old now, Michael Keaton apparently going to be reprising the role of Batman in the Flash movie.
I saw that in...
Are you
like,
serious?
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Flashpoint adaptation for the current DCU's Flash. What's his name?
What?
Ezra Miller? Is that his name?
Ed Norton?
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller.
Is that the same one from the TV show or from Dawn of Justice?
From
Dawn of
Dawn of
Justice.
Justice.
Okay.
And the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Oh,
Who's
wait.
he in that?
Why is Michael Keaton playing that Batman and not Ben Affleck?
Because Flashpoint is multiverse, so they get their choice if they want to be Batman.
Ben Affleck probably charges quite a bit more than Michael Keaton.
No,
is
I don't
fair.
think that's ever the issue. As much as... So,
maybe
it's multiverse, so it could be a Batman from a different universe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
actually,
Batfleck is
the
going to
Flash
show
TV
up.
series set up the whole multiverse.
Yeah, the multiverse.
Because when they did Crisis in Infinite Earths, didn't they have the Ezra Miller Flash from the movie show up right at the very end in a quick cameo?
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool. I've never watched any of that stuff. That's really cool that they're actually building a neat universe, though.
It's
I watched
actually
the old
multiple
Justice League TV
universes
show.
simultaneously.
So there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's
Josh,
so cool.
which book are you reading first from all that stuff behind you?
Well, let me just reach back there. Actually, I want to reread the Tyranny of Dragons, the Rise of Tiamat, specifically the Moving Ice chapter, and the last chapter of the first book with the Ice Castle, both of which I think will tie in neatly with the upcoming Icewind Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
definitely some theme in there.
We talked at length about Icewind Dale earlier, but what do you guys have thoughts on? You excited about that? You just interested to see
Very.
what the Frost Maiden can do?
Very. It's gonna build up so much more of what's current in Icewind Dale. That was old history and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see that happen.
I'm not actually a long-time D&D player. I've only been doing it for 5 years, so I don't have the depth and history. But is this an original adventure, or is this a retread of something earlier?
I believe it is original.
Everything indicates there may be some stuff that it reaches back into the lore with a little bit, kind of like how some of the other stuff has as well. But from what I understand, it's new. They're referencing some stuff, but yeah, definitely new.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever played an Icewind Dale for any meaningful capacity. There might be a couple modules that take place there.
Video games on Icewind Dale. There's all sorts of
Right.
lore that's already.
There was a video game.
Fourth
there.
edition Icewind Dale book?
Say again?
Was there a 4th edition Icewind Dale book? Like a setting?
I don't think
See
so,
here.
but I ignored 4th edition. I'm honestly just excited that it's another place that's not the Sword Coast. It's
Taverns of Icewind Dale.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I'm glad that it's still on, the original Forgotten Realms setting, but not in Waterdeep or Baldur's Grift or Baldur's Gate or Neverwinter, somewhere that's new but still, there.
I'm excited to see what they do with the Arcane Brotherhood.
Yeah, that's gonna be really interesting.
Ooh, Caverns of Icewind Dale 4th edition book, hardcover, $138.
Is that eBay?
No, that's on Amazon.
Do
Holy
they not
crap.
know it's for 4th edition?
Wow. Somebody thinks they've got gold now because they're releasing this new one. DM's Guild for the win.
That's where. That's actually where I picked up like 2 weeks ago. I picked up the white box rules for like $15.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
Was it Legacy of the Crystal Shard also?
Ooh.
Is that a video game as well?
Legacy of the Crystal Shard?
Icewind Dale was in a video game, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, if I had to do a one-shot, I've been kind of bouncing around the idea of kind of like a jailbreak, almost the opposite of a heist. PCs have to break out of the inside of a Gith astral cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
A what now?
The Gith who like abduct people from the material plane.
No.
No, Mac has no idea what it is, man. You're gonna have to explain the Gith.
Yeah, that's
Githrai, the Githyanki.
Yeah, they have a whole complicated history, but basically they reside in the astral plane.
Oh, those weird yeah.
Scared slaves of the Illithids, yeah.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, gotcha.
And they have big, cool ships that would make an excellent setting, I think.
Yeah, it could be sort of like a alien abduction in fantasy.
Yeah, escape from an alien ship.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. I don't know if I was doing. I have a pile of DCC books that I could one shot off because that's always a fun change of pace. But for D&D ones, I don't know. I'd have to kick around an idea or two. But in the meantime, I'm focusing on the campaign I'm getting ready to run, so my creative juices can only go so far.
How's that going, by the way?
We did the session 0 with everybody on, what was that, Saturday night?
Saturday.
Yeah. And everyone seems to be getting pretty excited about it.
Is that just a behind this, something you guys are doing privately? Or
yeah, it's a for us thing.
Public thing. Which one is that one?
This is the OAR or Old School Revival Original Adventures Reincarnated into the Borderlands campaign. It's okay. We're just doing this for ourselves. We might record some of it and put it up later, but that's definitely not the intention here. It's just something to have some fun with, everybody, relax and not have to worry about looking pretty for the camera. It takes a lot of makeup and time to make me look this good. So
I never worry about looking pretty for the camera, as you can tell.
Jesus. Are there any one-shots that you guys would want to play but not necessarily want to run? Sort of do the opposite side of that. What's been your ideal adventure for kicking off? Or for, running through?
I like a tier 2 adventure, so level 5 to 10. You
Yeah.
get a little meat on the bones, but it's not so many options that you don't know how to play the character, like a brand new level 12.
Yeah, I really think that's probably the 5 or 6 is my favorite kind of running zone
that's a good
for characters, especially if it's a one time let's go do this. Everybody's played millions of level 1s.
Plus, playing a level 5 or 6 gives you a chance to try something new, and if you are playing in a campaign like the Velkin Weave, then you maybe know what you want to work towards.
Yeah,
if you really like the concept.
Yeah, it lets you flex a little on something you haven't tried out before too.
Oh, absolutely. What would you want your level 5 or 6 to be running through, or your tier 2 to be running through? Standard dungeon, something, Icewind Dale kind of running through the tundra kind of thing. A heist.
For a heist, I'll do. A heist, I'll do in a heartbeat. You know me. I'm into those kinds of things. For me, it's about if it's a one shot, it's got to be somebody that or a character I can enjoy playing but not be invested in heavily.
Yeah.
That's
That
the
makes
thing
sense.
about one shot.
I like a good self-contained story that like narratively makes sense, not just 4 hours is there and you're done.
Yeah, just do 4 hours of just fighting things, and then it's like, all right, well, that's the thing. Congratulations, guys, you've killed your time.
It gets old real fast. Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for anything elemental or airship related.
Airships could be fun.
Was it Eberron or Ravnica that has the airships in it, like the Zeppelins?
Eberron has flying boats. Forgotten Realms has flying ships from Halrua. What was the other one that you mentioned?
Ravnica? Yeah, the Magic one, Magic the Gathering. I think that might be the one.
Oh, I'm sure they have them. If they don't, you can put them in Ravnica all you want. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's not a problem.
That Eberron airship is actually a mini that was released with the Eberron WizKids minis. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're smaller boats, but they're still boats nonetheless. They look really cool.
Yeah, because there's some setting out there that's supposed to be like fantasy post World War I kind of thing. Is that Eberron?
Maybe Dark Sun you're thinking of?
No, definitely not Dark Sun.
Eberron is close to it. It's like after the war is over now.
Yeah,
It's like a few years, but it's more like steampunk World War One.
Yeah.
But it's not World War One.
No, not at all.
The similarities end with the atrocities that happened because of it, but that's it.
Okay, yeah, that might be worth picking up just to get something that's not just the Forgotten Realms, because that's what I have back there. Yeah.
In Adventures League, they have two kind of splinter campaigns set in Eberron.
Oh.
So there's like two 12-set modules that have like a cohesive story arc. If you're looking for something besides the hardcover to run.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Hey, just doing. Are there Adventurers League stuff that's set up for one shot or one shottable things? That's not just running.
Pretty much
campaigns
every
stuff?
one of their modules could be just plucked and run.
Okay.
They usually give advice on how to incorporate it into whatever that season's story arc is. And then if you haven't played any of the previous, you can even play them out of order and just kind of roll with it.
Interesting. That could be a fun idea. To if we're looking for one-shot ideas, I think that could be an easy go-to. Hey, we got piles of things to go to, and they're good, right? You enjoy the Adventurers League stuff?
With anything, the quality varies,
Sure.
but there's, I'd say 75% of them every season are pretty good.
Excellent. Hey, that's the average I tend to try and hope for is everyone has 75% of the time has a good time.
DM Cecil has like a ridiculous amount of all of those as well, by the way.
Oh right, yeah.
So he's the guy you can reach out to talk to you about like what good options are out there, and I know Josh has run a ton of them too. So.
Sorry, cat's back on my foot and little jerk.
Is he sleeping on it?
Yeah, he looks like he's trying to figure out how to sleep on it, but right now he's just slowly gnawing on my ankle.
Okay, nothing
So-
you need.
Yeah. He's been fed already, so whatever. So what's it's about 8:50 now, so we got a little bit more time. So tomorrow is the Velkin Weave, right? Josh, what's exciting things are you looking forward to doing there?
I believe, we had last week off, so now we are at the Fey Market, which has been kind of foreshadowed for several sessions back.
Yeah.
Looking to actually get into the Fey Market from outside the waiting area and make some deals, wheel and deal.
You guys didn't go into the Fey Market like in episode 3 or something, right? You just talked. That was when the idea was kind of introduced, right?
Correct. We were told
Yes.
a month forward that it was going to be there for, I believe, 5 days, basically a week. It'll be around.
Okay, yeah. So I'm excited to see this storyline actually start getting, things paying off from the beginning of the season. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a good time.
I'm looking forward to seeing if DM Cecil was able to incorporate any of the Goblin Market stuff in there. An old World of Darkness product that I recommended that plays on these themes, deals with the Fae.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've never actually played in a tabletop game that runs into the Fae, so I'm liking how he's kind of weaving them into the story. It's interesting. So for Thursday read, what are we looking for? What's happening? Do I need to break out my pirate hats?
You're on a boat.
Having looted the ghost ship, what happened?
Yeah, there was a ghost ship that you guys just came across, if I recall correctly. There was some cryptic messages in the captain's log, which has not been fully investigated. You guys did a cursory search, and were able to discover the captain of the ship that you had found. The other ship you were on had found floating aimlessly outside of a major storm that had built up around old abandoned Leland. Had apparently the crew started murdering each other. Blood was found all over the place, and bodies were disappearing, and it looked like a mutiny was being planned. And at some point, there was a lot of blood in the captain's bed, but then like almost all the captain's things were still on the boat. But
we got his gold. That's all that matters.
Single lifeboat had been missing from the boat, from the ship, and but you couldn't tell, what was going on. The crew, in their intelligence, found a ship basically full of stuff, full of cargo, ready to be moved. You guys had the ship's logs and everything else you guys found, and
spooky boxes.
If I recall correctly, you guys had snuck in and found quite a few trade bars too. So you guys made a little bit of coin there, and you guys then also helped the crew, after much consternation, to load all the equipment onto the new ship that had plenty of room to hold it too. It's like free stuff that they're going to sell and make a killing on.
To say much consternation is kind of selling that higher than it was. The
general feel from all the party was, don't load this stuff, it's full of evil.
Well, we wanted to look at it, but it was already being loaded. It's like, all right, well, we'll check it out on your boat then. So there we go.
Talks of cursed items or whatever. I figure you guys are going to open up a crate and there's going to be a monkey paw in there or something like that.
Oh, I'm going to make so
many
wishes.
Where were the trade bars from? Faye?
They were from Luskin or Neverwinter. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to check my notes.
But hey, free stuff. So I'm happy.
Yeah, well, the characters found that. I don't think the boat crew found it, but the captain was really looking through all the stuff to find it.
Anna says Neverwinter for the trade bars.
No, that's Northwest. Yes, Neverwinter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
all right.
Yeah, I don't think we have any projects coming up this weekend, do we?
No. Right now we're going into a quiet period on Saturdays for stuff. We've got to do some pre-recorded stuff first to prep for the upcoming stuff that's happening over the next few months. And then we also need to do our cool banner video at some point and figure that out as a team.
Right. Yeah.
So because the new Twitch setup for us, there's a cool option for a 60-second welcome video that we want to make sure we put together for everybody. So we're gonna do a welcome spot.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah, something interesting. Come on in. The pool's fine. It's only full of sharks.
Yeah. Well, anybody else have any other business we want to be talking about? Because I think we're coming up on time here.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. You can find all of us on social media where?
Well, we have a pile of places. Let me see if I can get this into the chat. For our Discord is probably the best place to actually directly interact with us. There's a whole great community there. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Come check out. Oh, someone else beat me to it. Okay, thank you. Someone who's faster at typing than I am. So we have our Discord, which is great. A lot of us have Twitter accounts that we post on with some regularity. They're all underneath us. Mine is CMac20XD6. I have to look into because I never at myself. Then we got Josh's Quentin_Rogue. Am I reading that right?
You are correct, sir.
Man, I need
you gotta get Max some glasses because
I have glasses.
Squinty and get right up on stuff.
Yeah, it's this OBS studio is all the lettering's in teeny weeny squinto vision, so there's nothing I can do about it. And then at Warrior Street, we also have there's a Games Tavern at the Games Tavern on Twitter. And I believe all the shows also have at the individual shows, do they not?
Something similar, but
Yeah.
it's more important that they follow at the Games Tavern to get the latest and greatest, because everything for every show goes to that as well. So
True.
at the Games Tavern on Twitter, at the Games Tavern on Instagram. You can find
We have an Instagram.
Facebook, the Games Tavern, and more to come. More to come.
Well, excellent. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming on and talking a little bit about Tomb of Horrors and what we're all doing and having a grand old time. But I think we should let everybody get on with the rest of their evenings, right?
Take care, guys.
Have a good night, guys. Everybody, thanks for stopping by.